Here's a useful bit of software for backing up your computer. Really good if you've got things like accounts, documents, spreadsheets, presentations, maybe even if you just want to back up your address book. Not really the sort of thing you might use for photographs and things like that, but nevertheless very good. It's called Back2zip, and we can just easily find it if we go onto a search engine such as Google, and I'm just going to search for it. It's back2 with the number 2, zip all as one word. And if we do that search, it comes up here. There's quite a few places you can get it from. I happen to know that the one at the top of the list here at this website, free-backup.info, is actually a good one. So I'm just going to click on that, and we're going to go through just downloading it. So I hope you all know how to do that, and it actually says it right here, download Back2zip. And if we just hit save, I'm just going to save it to the desktop. You've noticed I save a lot of things to the desktop. Important to actually get rid of them afterwards, otherwise you're going to end up with a messy desktop. So let's just hit save. So now you're just going to save it. As you can see, it's a very quick download. It's about 0.5 MB in size, and it says that it's actually done. I'm just going to close this, and I'm going to close Internet Explorer as well. And now you'll see I've got it here, Back2zip. Let's install it, and then I'll tell you a bit more about it. Just hit run if you get the open file security warning. And what Back2zip does is actually takes files that you choose in particular folders, and it compresses them, which they call zipping up, which is why it's called Back2zip. So you compress the files. You can compress just one file. So if you've got a big file and you want to compress it, perhaps to email it, which you can do with this, or you can select a whole load of files and it compresses it all down into one file. Okay, and that's really good, especially if you're emailing. If you're doing things like photographs, if they're already things like JPEG files, they're not actually going to compress very much, if at all. So I wouldn't really use a zipping program for that unless you wanted to put a whole load of files into one, and we'll have a look at zipping a bit later. Okay, so Back2zip has started, and the option that we're going to look at is the backup. And you'll see here by default it's actually already got a folder that it's chosen. I'm logged in as the administrator here, so it's chosen my documents. If I didn't want it, that one, I would just click on it and press remove. Just so you can see how to do it, let's just remove that. I want to add a folder. So I click on that and I get this list, and my documents is right at the top there, so I can click on that. I could even click on, say, folders within here. So I might actually only want my doc files. I don't really want downloads because I can always go and download those again. The same might apply to music too, pictures as I said, and videos as well, very big. For those sorts of things there are other backup programs that might actually be better. So let's just choose that one, which is where I've got some files. I'm going to choose add folder again, and I might just have something on my desktop. So if I chose, say, this file here where I've got some files in it, click on OK, and I can just keep going through and adding them in my computer, on my C drive, which is my hard disk. I know I've got a data folder that I've got things in there as well. And just one more, because I've got a folder with websites that I'm working on. So let's just click on those, and again that's on my C drive, so click on OK, and you can keep going. It's going to remember this. I don't have to do anything like save it, there's no option there. It will just remember it when I close down. So that's set. Now if I want to back up right now, I just have to click on that button there and it will go through the process of doing it. The other thing I might want to consider is where I've actually got my backup to go to. It's going on to my backup on my C drive. I might have a memory stick or something, I might want to choose that, or an external hard drive. I could choose a folder for my backup different to this one. So I could just click on select folder. If I had a memory stick, again, I could just choose to put it on there, or an external hard drive, or I could choose another disk drive. I am just going to stick with keeping it on my backup for the moment. I can always then copy it onto a CD, DVD, or memory stick, or external hard drive. So I've got all of those. I could now press back up now and do that right now. I could also choose to schedule it for a particular time to do it, so I could tell it to do it every hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, or 6 hours. If you've got really important documents, could be a really good idea. You could also tell it to back it up only after a certain time, so it could be that when you've stopped working, and you can just change the time here, so you can just choose 7, 8, 9, so it might be after 8 o'clock at night. So that's one way to do it. A lot of people like to do the backup at the end of the day. It does it every day. You're not getting the option to do it, you know, like every Monday, Tuesday. It's not as advanced as that, but this is still very good. Other options you have is to check for a new version of Back2zip. The compression, you could just make a copy of the folders. Zipping, but with no compression, you might want to zip it up to make the files actually smaller so you can get it to fit onto a disk or memory stick. And if you want maximum compression, which squeezes everything down, then you've got the slower option there. So you just need to change it. This one actually doesn't zip it, it just puts them all together in one folder, and then you can do what you like with it. You can keep previous backups or not. You can choose how far back you might want it. If you're working on something really important, I would say that keep at least a few days worth of backup. Say if something goes wrong now, you can go back, you know, a few days, maybe even a week if you want. Back2zip's a good program. Launch it when your computer starts up if you want, if you need it all the time. The only thing is, bear in mind, if you've got a lot of programs all starting up at the startup of your computer, it's going to slow things down. You can always start Back2zip, it'll be in your start menu, or you might have a shortcut on your desktop. And the display size, you can change how Back2zip actually looks on your screen. So, you now have a backup program. I suggest you use it. A lot of people will say, but you know, I don't really have the time to do it. When things go wrong, believe me, you'll be wishing that you had.